Hello and welcome to this lecture in consumer behavior and marketing communication. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about various aspects of local advertising and global advertising, as well as we are also going to discuss about the various decision areas in international advertising. Now, I'll take you through the various slides wherein we will gather the knowledge about the topics, we will go through relevant examples, as well as I'll show you the differences between the three types of advertising, that is local, global and international advertising. So, let us move to the next slide. So, first of all, we will discuss about what local advertising is all about. So, as the name suggests, local advertising is very limited in reach and area, and this we can understand from the word local, which means areas which are covering only the nearby regions. So, local advertising means advertising and promotion done in the local market area, including television, radio, newspaper, billboards, hoarding, etc. So, various types of medias are used in local advertising, but the reach of the media is very limited. It can cover either a marketplace or it can cover a city or a very small region of, let us say, 25 to 30 kilometers. Local advertising is the advertising to local geography, culture or audience. By local geography, culture or audience, we mean that when we are doing local advertising, our audience are more or less homogeneous, that is, they belong to a particular region and they do not have much variation in their characteristics. Local advertising suits local business with limited reach. So, normally we see that local advertising is done for organizations whose products and services have limited reach. Otherwise, if the organization is large and if the reach of the products and services is to a greater region, then in that case the advertising is not called local, but it crosses borders. Local advertising is not much complex and it is simple to manage. So, this fourth point says that in case of local advertising, when we are doing local advertising, we do not have to think much about what medias are to be used and how we are going to position the product and services to the target audience, because as I said that there is not much change in the characteristics of the audience and they are more or less homogeneous, we can easily manage local advertising. For example, we must have seen the posters which are there pasted at the back of the auto rickshaw. So, such advertising is called transit advertising, which is also a form of local advertising, in which the advertising happens as and when the auto rickshaw moves around the city or around some particular area. So, that is an example of local advertising. We can take more examples of local advertising in the form of billboards, in the form of hoardings which are placed by the roadside, and the people who pass by those hoardings, they come across a lot of information which is there in those hoardings. Talking about global advertising, this is just opposite to what local advertising is all about. Global advertising is done on a global scale. Global advertising has a global reach, it has got global audience. So, therefore, global advertising is the advertising done on a worldwide scale, and this is done for products and services which are popular throughout the globe. Global advertising is different from local as well as international advertising. So, international advertising is something which is different from global advertising. So, we need not confuse between the two. International advertising, in fact, we are going to discuss just after global advertising. But as of now, from global advertising, we can understand that it is done on a global scale for products which are popular globally. For example, we can take the example of Apple phones, which are being sold globally in almost each country, and everybody is purchasing, like most of the people. Global advertising is done when advertiser looks at the entire world as one global market. So, the best example that we have taken is perhaps the Apple phone, which is being sold as a global product, and that is being sold when Apple company is looking at the entire world as one global market. Global advertising is used by huge chains that sell certain specific products. We can also take the example of Pizza Hut's pizza, which is being sold globally, and Pizza Hut probably has its presence in each and every country. Such organizations do not differentiate their products across geographies. So, when a company is doing global advertising or advertising at the global scale, it is not normally differentiating its products between a country and another country. So, the product is being sold as a global product, and there is a global strategy which is then applied in the marketing and advertising of that product or service. So, as we can see from the last two slides, that global advertising is just the opposite of local advertising. It has got a global reach, whereas local advertising has got a very limited reach. In global advertising, you will come across a lot of variations when we will move from country to country, but the strategy remains same. The product is extremely standardized, and the methods of advertising and the methods of promotion and marketing remain highly standardized and highly global, and the companies, as I said, do not differentiate the products and services across the geographies. Now, this particular slide is about the difference between local advertising and global advertising. So, once again I will count those differences and let us discuss, and I will explain it to you. Local advertising is done locally. It is done in a particular area which is extremely limited, while global advertising is done globally. It covers the entire globe. Local advertising is simple to manage, and this point is very easy to understand as to why it is simple to manage, because the advertiser, the marketer or the organization that is doing advertising has to manage a very small area, wherein the people also are not much different from each other. So, there is a lot of homogeneity there in the audience. While in case of global advertising, it is complex to manage. Complex because it covers the entire globe, complex because a lot of strategy making, a lot of time goes into the strategy making, complex because each and every country has their own advertising laws which the organization has to abide to, and complex because there is a lot of management involved, a lot of ad agencies and all those things are involved. So, the management becomes very complex. Local advertising is something that suits to smaller organizations. Obviously, smaller organizations will have their products and services reaching a limited number of people. So, therefore, smaller organizations go for local advertising because they do not have the budget, nor they have the distribution channel to take their products and services globally. So, they are confined and they are satisfied with local advertising, while huge corporations, I took the name of Apple, I took the name of McDonald's, I took the name of Pizza Hut. So, these are giant organizations that are involved in global advertising because their products and service reach to every nook and corner of the globe. Coming to local advertising, it targets the customers nearby. So, when we see an advertisement which is posted at the back of an auto rickshaw, so that advertisement is meant for all the people of that area. So, it is targeting the customers nearby the business, while in case of global advertising, it is targeting customers worldwide. So, these days a lot of advertising is happening on the internet, and on internet also we can see this difference between local and global advertising. I will just come to that. Just let me finish one more point, and then I will just discuss about internet marketing locally as well as globally. The last point in local advertising says that it caters to a specific culture. Specific culture, by specific culture we mean that the audience are homogeneous, more or less homogeneous, and therefore, there is not much variation. So, local advertising is basically targeting people of a specific culture because it is done locally and it is done in a very confined region. While in case of global advertising, it caters to multiple cultures, multiple subcultures, multiple countries, multiple states, areas, regions, languages, races, whatever you want to say. So, global advertising is truly covering a lot of people, millions of people, billions of people across the globe. Now, here we have two pictures, and these two pictures are very suitable, and these are very apt to understand the difference between local advertising and global advertising. This is a picture. This is again a kind of transit ad. You can see some you can see that train, this is a local train, and on that local train a big advertisement of this namkeen snacks is there, and this ad is written in Hindi, which is a very popular language in North India. So, it caters to a very particular area. So, this train must be running from station A to station B, and all the people who take the train, who get down from the train and alight the train between station A and station B, they must be able to see this advertisement. So, this is a very local and a very confined advertising which is happening here, because this local train is running between two stations and all the stations that it is covering in between. So, the people who are present on those stations are able to see this advertising. They are able to see this ad of this particular snack. So, this is an example of a local ad on a local train in fact. And here you can see this is an advertisement of Coca-Cola, and there is a line written here, open a Coke, open happiness. Now, open a Coke, open happiness. If we look at this line carefully, then happiness is something which is global. Happiness is something which is truly belonging to everybody, every person, be it an Indian or be it an American or Chinese or anybody. So, happiness is a universal, it is a global feeling, it is a global emotion, and by opening a Coca-Cola, you are actually opening a can of happiness. So, this is the message that is being conveyed in this ad. So, that is truly a global spirit, that feeling of happiness is truly global. So, we can see this advertisement is truly global in nature, because this is targeting an audience across all the countries, and this is talking about happiness which belongs to everybody. I mean, everybody wants to be happy. So, anybody and everybody who wants to be happy can go and open a can of Coca-Cola or a bottle of Coca-Cola and become happy. And for this advertisement, this global advertisement, Coca-Cola must have certainly chosen platforms such as internet and television instead of going for such platforms as local train. So, this slide is having two pictures, and these two pictures can easily explain us the difference between a local advertisement as well as a global advertisement. Now, international advertising. Before actually moving to international advertising, I want to discuss that today in the modern world we are using internet for advertising, and internet is being used for promotion. Social media is being used a lot for promotion. So, in Facebook particularly, it is being used for advertising your products and services, and a lot of organizations are using Facebook to promote their products and services. So, if we use Facebook for promotion, then Facebook also gives us an option of promoting the product or the service locally. So, whenever we promote a product or a service using Facebook, and whenever we select that option, we are able to advertise about that product or that service in a region spanning 25 to 30 kilometers. So, local advertising is a separate option which is provided by Facebook, because it knows that a lot of small business organizations are there that cater to local advertising. Whereas, in case of global advertising, you can if you are advertising through social media and internet, you can choose your own audience, you can select various countries, or you can go global entirely. Anyway, so with this we come to the end of this local and global advertising, and then in the next slide we move towards something called international advertising. So, let me first read out the definition, and then we can understand it, what international advertising is and how is it different from global advertising. International advertising is defined as the non-personal communication by an identified sponsor. So, advertising itself is a non-personal communication by an identified sponsor across international borders using broadcast, print or interactive media. So, this is a very comprehensive definition that covers a lot of aspects of international advertising. First is that it is a non-personal communication. Yes, it is a communication from the side of an organization to its audience by an identified sponsor. Identified sponsor is the company that is advertising its products and services, and this advertising is happening across international borders. So, that is why it is called international, because it is happening in multiple countries. So, that advertising is crossing the border and going into the other country, and this is using a lot of media. such as the print, broadcast and interactive media. We can also include internet, because in modern times a lot of advertising and promotion is happening on internet. So, we cannot exclude it. It requires dissemination of a commercial message to a target audiences in more than one country. So, this is how we can differentiate between global and international advertising. Now, I am just underlining this, in more than one country. So, we have to focus here. So, international advertising is the type of advertising which is happening in more than one country. So, even if it is happening in 3 or 4 countries, it will be called international advertising, and it requires dissemination of a commercial message. Now, as you know that advertising includes a commercial message which has to be passed on to a specific audience using a channel, which is the media. In international advertising, great care has to be taken about the message in the advertisement. Now, this is to be understood properly as to why so much of care has to be taken about the message which is there in the advertisement. The message has to be customized. Now, as we move from country to country, meanings of symbols change. So, when we are taking our advertising from one country to the other, we have to take care of the customs, we have to take care about the values, we have to take care about the people belief, we have to take care about the advertising laws, and we have to take care about so many other things, the legislations, and what messages can be shown, what messages should be avoided, what colors can be included, what symbols can be included, how the representation of a particular person has to be made in the advertisement, and so many other things. And therefore, advertising becomes very tricky when we move from one country to the other, because of the change in the laws, customs, beliefs, legislations and other legal requirements. So, therefore, it is said that in international advertising, great care has to be taken about the message in the advertisement, which needs to be customized, which needs to be tailored according to the requirement of a particular country. And last but not the least, the ad has to be such that it is acceptable to audience of that country. So, while we were dealing with in one of the lectures, we were dealing with the legal, ethical and social side of advertising, and there were issues that we were studying. So, this was also an issue, that when we are advertising in countries more than one, we have to take care about how the people will think about our ad, and will they or will not they accept the advertisement, because there have been instances where companies have made some advertisements, and they have, when broadcasted the advertisement in a particular country, the advertisement has not been accepted among the people of the country because of some message that they were not able to accept. So, there have been instances like these, and these instances actually cost a lot of money to the company. So, it is beforehand that the organization must decide about what kind of messages it wants to include in the ad when it is going to run that ad in a particular country. So, international advertising is this and much more. Objectives of international advertising. Now, there are 5 concise objectives are written here. I will just read out, and then we will focus on each and every objective in detail. So, one of the objectives of international advertising is to create demand. So, creation of demand for the product or service in a foreign market. So, we have a product and service, and the organization wants to sell its products and services in a foreign country. So, one of the ways of creating the demand is through advertising. Through advertising, it will be creating a lot of awareness about that product and service, and that awareness together with the message in the advertisement will help in creation of the demand of that product or service. So, this is one of the objectives. Then international advertising also aims to give a lot of information about a new product. So, if a product is relatively new, and if such products or such services are not existing in the market, then international advertising is a way to create awareness and to give a lot of information to the customers in a foreign country. Then this third objective which we are going to talk about is to support the salespeople. Now, this is extremely important. Why? Because when a product or a service is being sold in a foreign country, and the salespeople we have suppose hired salespeople in that country. So, the advertising is very necessary for the salespeople who do not have to exert tremendous effort if the advertising has been done properly. So, advertising actually make the job of salespeople easy. So, it in a way it gives a lot of support to the salespeople. So, if the advertising is done properly, salespeople do get a lot of support to fight competition. So, if a organization has to stay ahead in competition, and if it has to if it aims to get more consumers in the market, then it has to do a lot of advertising, because you know that there are sectors in which there is a lot of competition, and there are a lot of players, a lot of organizations are producing similar products and services. So, in that case, if an organization wants to stay ahead, it has to resort to very sensible advertising. And then to reduce the cost of marketing. So, advertising in a way reduces the cost of marketing in the longer run. Why? Because in the longer run, through proper and sensible advertising that reaches the audience properly, an organization is able to generate an army of loyal consumers. And once an organization is successful in building an army of loyal consumers, those loyal consumers will then do a lot of advocacy for the product. They will bring in a lot of customers through referrals. They will bring in a lot of customers through publicity, and publicity, as we know, happens through the word of mouth. So, in the longer run, the advertising cost will come down, the marketing cost will come down. So, if sensible advertising is done, it is surely going to help the organization to reduce the cost of marketing in the longer run. So, again we have a list of differences between international and global advertising. In case of international advertising, it is done only in few countries, while global advertising is done globally. International advertising is more complex than global advertising. Global advertising is extremely standardized, like we said, while in international advertising we have to take care of the legislations and various laws, and then we have to take care of a number of factors when we move from one country to the other. International advertising suits large organizations. Global advertising also suits global corporations like Apple. International advertising, in international advertising there are so many customized strategies. So, customization process matters a lot in international advertising, while in global advertising we have some kind of standardized strategies, because the product is very global. So, we can use standardized strategies and then apply them across the globe. In case of international advertising, it caters to specific cultures, caters to specific countries, while global advertising caters to a global culture, a universal appeal. And to highlight this universal appeal, I already gave you an example of Coca-Cola that was highlighting the feeling of happiness, and happiness is absolutely universal. Happiness is not different in India or US or China or Australia. So, happiness is the same everywhere, which is happiness. Decision areas in international advertising. This is going to be our last slide before we conclude this lecture. So, let us focus on this decision areas in international advertising. While doing international advertising, an organization has to make decisions in the following important areas: language of the message in the advertisement. So, this is extremely important. Why? Because your audience belong to a particular country, they understand a particular language. So, it is important for the organizations to identify which language should be included in the advertisement, so as to a majority or maximum audience can understand the message in the advertisement in the same manner as the organization is intending to spread it. So, this is one important point. Second is knowledge of cultural symbols and other non-verbal communication. Cultural symbols and non-verbal communication hold a lot of importance in advertising. I will give you a very small example. In Indian weddings, if we talk about Indian weddings, then red color is considered auspicious. Red color is considered pious in Indian weddings. So, that is why people like wearing red colored clothes when it comes to Indian weddings. But then if we talk about Christian weddings, or if we talk about weddings taking place in US and Australia, white is the color of such weddings, but we cannot interchange the two. So, if we are selling a wedding dress in India, it has to be of red color. Specifically, if it is a Hindu wedding, it has to be of red color. So, these colors, numbers, symbols, and other non-verbal cues, space, and all these things that have to be properly understood, and they have to be dealt with very carefully when an organization is trying to make an advertisement and spread it or pass it on to the audience in a particular country. Then government rules and regulations of that country. So, there are so many government rules and regulations. For example, we can take the point like presentation of children in advertisements. So, a country A can have some laws with respect to presentation of children in advertisement, while a country B can have some other laws with respect to children in advertisement. Same in the case of representation of women. So, we have got a laws and we have acts in India also. The acts deal with presentation of various people in advertisements of products and services. So, it is important for an organization to understand such legislations, such laws, and then accordingly go about making the advertisement. Then media limitations. Now, by media limitations, we mean that the organizations have to take care of the availability of media and affordability of media. So, media limitations actually have two aspects. One aspect is availability and the other aspect is affordability. By affordability, what we mean is an organization has, as we know, it has got a limited financial resources. So, a company might not be able to afford a particular media, let us say television, because television ads are extremely expensive, or a very small size firm can even not afford a full page newspaper ad, because full page newspaper ads are also extremely expensive. So, one of the media limitation is not able to use the media because of expenses. The other is non-availability of media. So, if we talk about rural areas in India, so in Indian rural areas sometimes internet is not working properly. So, using internet to advertise in rural India will be a bad idea, while using radio or using local newspapers, Hindi newspapers in North India, all these media would be more impactful and more effective. So, media limitation is one important point that organizations have to consider, and they have to act accordingly. So, a lot of thought must be put here in this point of media limitations, both in terms of availability of media as well as their ability of affording a particular media. Then of course, the background of consumers in the target market. So, the background of consumers in the target market is something which is a subject of marketing research. So, an organization which is planning to advertise can take the help of a marketing research firm, and that marketing research firm can provide accurate profiles of people in the target market, or it can give the organization or the company a correct profile of its target audience, so that it becomes easy for the organization to prepare an advertisement which creates an impact on the people in the target market. So, the background of the consumers must be understood properly, media limitations have to be understood properly, laws and regulations and legislations of the government have to be understood properly, the knowledge of culture has to be there, the symbols, non-verbal cues, colors, alphabets, etc., etc. And last but not the least, this is the foundation, the language. Language is the medium of communication. So, language is the basic thing here. So, coming to the end of this lecture, let us quickly recall and recap what we studied in this lecture. We basically dealt with local advertising, as we discussed that local advertising is confined to a particular area and the audience is also very limited and homogeneous. From there we went to global advertising. Global advertising is done across the globe using some very standardized approaches and strategies, and we took the example of products such as Apple and Pizza Hut. Then we discussed the differences between local and global advertising, and then these two pictures gave us a clear idea of the differences between local and global advertising. And then we came to international advertising, and then international advertising we saw that it is confined to a few countries, while global advertising goes across the globe. And to understand the various objectives of international advertising, we took these 5 points, and then we discussed what are the objectives, like creation of demand to give proper information, to support the salespeople, fight competition, and last but not the least, to reduce marketing cost. And then this slide gave us a very clear idea about the differences between international and global advertising. And after studying these, we discussed about some key areas in international advertising. So with this, I come to the end of the lecture. My name is Ashish Avasthi and my email ID is ashish.awasthi@imsec.ac.in. In case there are any questions related to the lecture, kindly please write to me and I will try to reply to your questions to the best of my ability. I come to the end of this lecture. Thank you so much.